Hello, everyone. Welcome back to SportsBeat on WOUB. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host today, Jake Collins, and with me at the desk is
Reece Merkel,
Conor Mallonn,
Zwiezinski
and Craig Neal.
After a full weekend of games around Athens and interesting storylines around the country, let's check them out today with today's topics. We open with Ohio men's and women's basketball as both teams split their last two games. We then go into more news around the transfer portal and recruiting class for the football team. After that, we would go into college football national title game and NFL playoffs with our reactions. That is before Upset Watch, our weekly awards, and much more. SportsBeat starts right now. We begin our show, of course, with men's basketball, where the Bobcats now sit at 11-9, but the one loss to me, and the one that really needs to be addressed, is this most recent one on Friday to Ball State. Reece, what prevented Ohio from winning this game?
They could not stop Armani Ziegler. So the Ohio Bobcats traveled to Muncie, took on former Bobcat Elmore James. They dropped this game 76-71. Cardinals held the lead pretty much since it was 2-0. The entire game, the Bobcats did not have a single lead this entire game. Like I said, could not stop him. Armani, he scored 28. 12 of those came from the charity stripe. Aiden and Jackson both had 22 on the night, leading the Bobcats in scoring. The Cardinals were also able to get the free throw line 31 times in this game, where they shot 81%.
So offensively, Ball State got out to that hot start, but what was the thing, particularly within the bench, that you think struggled between the two teams?
For the Bobcats at least, it was production off the bench. Dior Connors, Kier Kawani, Jalen Breath, and Jesse Burris. Both of them came off the bench. They had meaningful minutes, but they combined for 0 points. That's a clear problem, to me at least, with this team. And Jeff Bowles needs to figure that out to actually win more games.
Yeah, and I actually want to piggyback on that point, and anyone else at the table, do you think it's kind of that production issue, or at least a coaching issue when it comes to these, hey, we have talented athletic players off the bench, but when we actually put them on the court, schematically, we're not finding them. Like, we're not purposely trying to keep them to be open. Is it more of just like they're just trying to keep it in Pav's hands, Javen's hands, or Aiden Hadaway's hands?
I think when you have such athletic players coming off the bench, you got to know how to use your rotations as a coaching staff to better suit, like if you want to get into Pav's hands, form a rotation with guys that are going to be able to space the floor to able to get him open to shoot as we know he can do.
Yeah, and I've been sitting on the floor for some of these games shooting photos, and Reece, you can probably agree with me here. There have been some odd lines that have hit the court.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And every once in a while, you just kind of look at the lineup that Jeff Bowles throws out there, and you go, all right, how is this lineup of guys, mixing starters and guys off the bench, supposed to even really be productive? And it raises a couple of questions and more red flags than I'd like to admit, honestly.
Yeah. Hey, go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, I think especially with the game against Ball State, just lack of real minutes to anybody on the bench. I'm looking, and if you add up all of the bench players' minutes, they have 9 less than Javen Simmons. They had 22 combined minutes off the bench, and it's like you're not. I don't know. I feel like it's almost you're not setting them up as well and giving them enough time to really be able to show what they can do, which is leading to a lack of production.
And
from
specifically with that, and what Jack's talking about is out of those 4 players that came off the bench, there was only 2 shots between the 4 players. So that's when it really goes into, hey, if you're going to put them on the court, you got to use them. You got to put trust in them. You got to schematically find them in the open lanes, draw up plays. We see some of these guys be able to score. If you go through the game logs, a bunch of these guys, Kier Kawani, Dior Connors, Jesse Burris, Jalen Breath, they all have had games where they've scored 10 to 15 points in a game. Some of them, yes, it might be against maybe a D2, D3 opponent, but even then, a couple of them have done it against D1 opponents. So why not use them more? Is that kind of the expectation going forward for you guys? What are you guys wanting to see from Jeff Bowles and this Bobcat team?
I definitely want to see some more rotation with the bench because, it's like you said, yeah, the bench put up 2 shots in 22 minutes, and both of them were from Jesse Burris. 0 combined points. Give them some real time in the game. You can give your starters a break. Even if you sprinkle some of the bench players in with your start, that's fine. You should do that. give them some more time to really be able to see what they can do against some of these MAC opponents, some of these, bigger schools that they're playing against.
Yeah, I mean, and also, like, you can't play your starters for 30-plus minutes. Looking at it, Jackson Pav, he averages almost 36 minutes per game, while you have Jesse Burris, who's averaging 11.
I mean, I understand it gets to the point where, like, yes, you want to play Pav, you want to play Javen, you want to play Hadaway. Those are your top 3 scorers that can consistently give you 15 points. Pav could get you 20 to 25, but at some point, you got to give him a rest, especially when I think they have the athletes, and a lot of these teams within the MAC, they might be only 6 or 7 players deep anyway. So why not take that advantage of getting those extra players with fresh bodies on the court?
Yeah, and when you're having your starters play like 30-plus minutes a night, you're also risking injury. Because like when you're pushing your players that hard night in and night out, especially when it gets like late, like a more gauntlet-heavy schedule, and you're having your guys play 30-plus minutes, they're gonna need a break. You can't run them ragged and they expect them to like a Tom Thibodeau method, and then when they get hurt, they're like, oh, guess we're missing our star players now.
Yeah, and I also think like it's schematically like it's a small lineup. The problem is they play like they're technically a small ball team, but they don't shoot efficiently like a small ball team. And they try to play a little bit of bully ball in the paint. They do a good job drawing fouls. They do a decent job making free throws. But I mean, in terms of the MAC, they're one of the worst teams in the MAC in terms of 3-point shooting. I think what was it when we were looking up? They were like 12th in the MAC.
So I have it down here in my notes. They're bottom 30 in the nation for 3-point percentage.
Yeah, for 3-point percentage.
And it's not like they have an easy rest of the year either, because they've got a tough MAC schedule. And, especially when you're going to have to face the inevitability that is the undefeated ranked Miami, which is a team that shoots so well from the 3, you're going to need to match that to a certain extent if you want to play well against them, especially if you want to find success down the stretch.
And not only do they shoot well, if you look on NCAA, they are number 1 across 360 schools. And that's the reason why they're undefeated. I mean, they shoot and they knock them down. If you're going to get in a high-scoring battle with them, you have to match them. And I just don't have the confidence. Like I'm going to say, I don't have the confidence for this Bobcats team to go out there and do that, neither in Oxford when they play them or even in the combo. So it's going to be tricky to see. But, let's start harping off them or stop harping on them from this first game. They did have that second game against NIU pretty recently on Tuesday. Bobcats bounced back a little bit, but it was kind of one where they kind of escaped the upset.
Yep, so they had Northern Illinois last night. It was a lot closer than many OU fans would have liked. It was a 3-point game, 80-77. Javen Simmons was out for the game with an injury. So we got to see Jalen Brett's first start of the year. Also, a lot of questions that were answered just talking about that Ball State game where not many people came off the bench. A lot of people came off the bench. I mean, Dior came off the bench, had 12. Aiden Evans came off the bench. He had a 3 and then a huge block later in the game. So we're seeing, like, this team, they're starting to get, a little bit more, like, I don't know what changed in the game plan for Bowles, but we saw more depth being used. Could it be because of Javen being out? Just trying to get those rotational, like Kier and Aiden, the taller guys getting in?
Yeah, I mean, I agree because, Javen is he's one of your anchor players on the floor. He's one of your bully ball players, one of your better rebounders and better scorers inside the paint. But I was really impressed with J.J. Kelly in this recent game. I mean, the freshman from Pennsylvania came off the bench. He really stepped up and stepped in. And it's kind of a weird lineup. Like we mentioned, they don't have a consistent big. They don't have a 6'10" center. They have a bunch of forwards and guards. So sometimes, they'll have 3 forwards out there. Sometimes they'll have 3 guards out there. And they really have to find that balance. And I was just really impressed with J.J. Kelly, who kind of plays like a guard forward. But what else in that game, Reece, did you kind of see in this matchup?
I mean, talking about J.J. Kelly, he had a huge game. 17 points, 9 boards, making up for Javen's absence. And he also had 3 blocks. A lot of them were chased down off the backboard, which were crazy to see. Other than that, we had Pav do Pav things. We had Hadaway do Hadaway things. So it's really more of like trying to find the depth for this team that I think we saw it in this game with a lot of the players, Dior jacking up 3 threes and draining all of them right in front of OU's bench.
Yeah. And then I guess, now that we talked about the recaps of these games, we'll go into the previews. And this is going to be a tough slate for Ohio these next 2 weeks. I mean, you're talking 2 of the top 3 teams within the MAC. Let's start with Akron. What do you got for us for the Zips?
Akron comes in at 15-4, 6-1 in the conference. Akron has won their past 5 games. They're 5-0, averaging 86 points per game. The last time Akron won in Athens was in 2022, almost 4 years ago to this point. So recently the convo's been kind of hard for them to play in. They have 2 main guys to watch out for, Tavari Johnson and Amani Lyles. Johnson's averaging 20 points per game, 6 assists, and then he's shooting 54% from the field and then almost 40% from behind the arc. Lyles is averaging 16, 8 rebounds. He's shooting 60 from the field and then 44% from the 3.
Yeah, and for the Zips, they're currently ranked 2nd in the MAC, I believe. So now we're going to go on to Kent State, which is going to be that next game. I believe it's next Tuesday. What do you got for us for the Golden Flashes?
So Kent State comes in. They're ranked 3rd in the MAC, 5-2 conference record, 14-5 overall, 3-2 in the past 5 games. They're averaging 91 points per game. Their main guy is Dilreko Gillespie, who's averaging a double-double, 20 points, 12 boards, which the 12 boards leads the entire nation. He's also shooting 57% from the field. He's been the top scorer. He's been their top scorer in the past 5 games, with a high of 32 against Bowling Green, and it gives them an average of 21 points per game in the last 5.
Yeah, and if you don't have Javen out there on the floor, I mean, size-wise, they match up. I mean, Gillespie is 6'8", 230 pounds, so he plays bully ball if he's leading the entire nation in rebounds. So it's going to be an interesting matchup to see. We're curious to see if Javen Simmons will play. That will be a huge loss for the Bobcats if he's not available. But now to go on to the next sport, we go on to women's basketball, and they also had a 2-game series, Craig. They did split the series. They lost the first one. Tell about that first one against Kent State.
That Kent State game, it was their first conference loss. I mean, it's bound to happen eventually. You can't win them all, as they say. They conceded 19 second chance points. And to even put that more into context, Kent out-rebounded OU 45-24. I remember the last time I talked about this team that I said that they got a rebound better. And they got outscored off turnovers in transition and bench points. Like, the game looked close in the box score, but, like, when you start to look at it more, it really, like, Kent was just having their way. And to close out both of the halves, the Bobcats were 7 of 23 from the field and 1 for 11 from 3. Like, when it came to closing out halves, like in the second and the fourth, Kent just shut them down completely. And, like, it's one of those games, they're definitely going to want it back, but they don't have to wait too long to get their get back as they play Kent here in the Convo on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like the problems that we saw from last year. They kind of struggled from 3-point, only shooting 9 for 29. So it's kind of the things that we saw last year where they shoot a high quantity of 3-pointers, but they don't make a whole lot. And it kind of hurts that, Bella Rinaldo only played 18 minutes. She had the 5 fouls, got one of the more talented players in foul trouble for the Bobcats. And it really did hurt them offensively in terms of the late stages of this game. But they were able to bounce back in that next game, Craig. What did we see? How were they able to get the dub?
This game was, like, offensively led by Bailey Tabling with, like, she had 15 points. Riri Jennings had 14, and Bella Rinaldo, as you said, one of the star players, had 12. But the Bobcats were seemingly way better on offense than this one, although NIU is, like, the worst team in the MAC. This game was, like, closer than people would have liked it to be. The Bobcats outscored NIU in transition off the bench and off turnovers, like I was saying. They basically did the opposite of what happened to Kent, and it was really just an offensive collective effort from everyone. And they limited NIU to 2 points off turnovers and 0 points in transition, which I was really impressed with, seeing how most of the time when I look at the box scores for their games, they're getting outscored in off turnovers and in transition. So clean basketball, you love to see that happening. And despite losing the rebound battle, they won the turnover margin by nearly 10. I just would like to see them better on the boards. And like me and you, Jake, we talked about it. NIU outscored OU 3 out of the 4 quarters, but like a very strong second quarter is what carried the Bobcats to victory.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It was really the second quarter. They outscored NIU 22-11, and all the other quarters, they lost by a couple point margins. So, I mean, good for them to kind of like match the scoring abilities of NIU in that second half because they did have a decent lead going into the first half, or at least going into the locker rooms. They did a solid job, but like you mentioned, I mean, you just don't want to see these close games. NIU was another team that was only 1-4 in the MAC, dropped to 1-5 after this. So, I mean, yes, they're 5-1, but there's still some things that they need to clean up. What exactly would you like to see from the team? I
would like to see cleaner basketball, of course, less turnovers, more rebounds. Like I'm gonna sound like an old head when I talk about get on the boards, but it's one of the fundamental parts of basketball, as well as like you were talking about earlier, just the shooting problems. Like the shot quantity is not an issue; it's the shot quality that they should look to improve, because if you're going 9 from 29 in the game, there's seemingly a problem in the shots you're taking. So I'd like them to improve on just fundamental parts of the game.
And then to quickly go through the previews, kind of give us both teams back-to-back. What is Ohio expecting for their next 2 games?
Okay, first up they got Toledo, who is 8-8 on the season, as well as 2-6 on the road. So this is a good one to maybe get some confidence back. This is the first meeting they have with the Rockets this season, but here's the kicker. They blew NIU out by 20. So that might be a little bit of a worrisome thing. Their best players are Kendall Caruthers and Faith Fed Robinson, who are both averaging over 10 points per game, and they're leading their season rebound margin by 6.2. So that is also one of the things that I was worried about when looking at this matchup. And on the 28th, they have UMass. UMass is 3-13 and 5-2 on the road, which has me worried just tremendously. Their best players are Yamani McHale and Megan Olberies, who are both averaging 15 points a game, which is shooting at least 40% from the field. UMass also averages close to 40 rebounds per game. Like I said, I'm starting to sound like an old head. But with the Bobcats' struggles on the boards, that could be just the make-or-break thing for them. And if the Bobcats want to come away with this one, they're going to have to make the offense go through someone other than McHale or Olberies.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Craig, they're 13-3. They're one of the best teams in conference play, and this is kind of, the ground to where you could kind of prove yourself as a basketball team that you're going to be able to compete with the best in the MAC. So thanks for that preview. And now to go on to our next segment, we're going to talk once again about OU football, but we're going to go more on a deep dive on the transfer and the recruiting breakdown. Of course, they're in off-season mode. We have seen a lot of players lost to the transfer portal. Jack, I mean, what's the off-season talent, the acquisition, and the departures look like?
Yeah, so since the season's over, it's time for the transfer portal to get active. Some key players are transferring out, but I think they've got some interesting prospects coming in. So heading out, interior lineman Davion Weatherspoon, Rodney Harris, Parker Navarro, Chase Hendricks, Mason Williams, Jay Crable. Just something to note, another Ohio tight end going to Ohio State with Mason Williams. Chase Hendricks to Cal, Jay Crable to Florida Atlantic, Rodney Harris to Oklahoma State, Davion Weatherspoon to Arkansas, and then we're not fully sure where Parker Navarro will end up. Coming in, they have Victor Rosa, who's a running back from the Connecticut Huskies. He had 30 carries for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season, but he didn't play a whole lot. He only had about 3 carries per game last year. And Jake Furtney, tight end from from Illinois, freshman. He didn't see the field at all. And then recruiting-wise, they've been pretty active with a lot around Ohio, some out. They've got 5 O-linemen, a running back, a quarterback, 3 wide receivers, 3 D tackles, 1 DN, 3 safeties, 2 cornerbacks, and a linebacker. I think the biggest thing is quarterback Levi Davis out of Olentangy Orange is coming to Ohio. My dad actually got to watch a lot of his high school career, so I reached out to him. He said Levi Davis is an athletic dual-threat quarterback. He can beat you easily with his arm as he can his leg. This is a guy who knows how to win and to do it playing the most important position on the field, which is just huge for Ohio.
Yes, especially when you talk about the quarterback room. There's a lot of questions for the quarterback room next year in terms of who's going to fill in that spot. Of course, Parker Navarro entered the transfer portal, so even if he gets that 7th year of eligibility, we don't know who that quarterback is. And being from the Columbus area like me, Levi Davis, this is legit. This is a legit prospect for the Bobcats.
He was really good.
And because of that, I mean, you consider how the Olentangy schools are also state title contenders, and he was on that state title winning team as the quarterback, so he has that leadership. He has that championship DNA in his system, and that's really what they're going to need for John Hauser, who's going to step in for the head coaching role now. He's going to find players that need that trust, those players that could play in those late stages of the game. So I really think that's going to be a key pickup. But like you mentioned, I kind of like this Jake Furtney selection from Illinois as well, because once again, Mason Williams, gone. He's going up to OSU. He's following Will Kazmarik's route. This is going to be a player where, okay, he's a raw talent. We didn't see a whole lot of film of him from Illinois, but it could be something that, it could just blend into something and really fit into the system.
I also do want to mention we did have, OU also has Preston Bowman from Kentucky coming in as a receiver. He was teammates with Michael Taylor at Pick North. He was I believe a former 4-star recruit as well. So that's also a big get for the portal.
Yeah, and especially when they got to replace Chase. And I think we kind of mentioned Preston just a little bit last week, but Chase is a spot you got to fill in. And Preston Bowman has that same build. But when it comes to, I guess, the overall consensus, Ohio is, I believe, ranked 105th, according to 24/7 Sports, for total teams across the NCAA, which is around mid-pack for, I guess, the MAC conference teams in general. So they're doing a decent job. They're still trying to figure out everything, fill in the puzzle pieces, find the new ones, and see what you could work with. But now we're going to go to our next section, and this is something that, we're kind of doing, it's like the same thing as our read and react, but we kind of have it under a different name. It's called a call to Maction. This is a segment where we react to the biggest news, specifically within the MAC conference. Guys, Miami men's basketball has entered the AP Top 25 for the first time since February 1999. I mean, this team is legit. They're first in the MAC. They're 20-0. We mentioned earlier they have the best three-point shooting team in the nation. What is just our reaction to this in terms of just, maybe being Ohio University students, or the fact that this is a mid-major team that has taken the nation by storm?
I mean, you hate to see it. As Ohio University students, you hate to see it.
Yes, you do.
But you got to give credit where credit is due. This team is one of the better Miami teams that of all time, obviously, because it's the first time they reached the AP pool since the 90s. We were talking about it earlier. They come out of these close games just somehow, some way, and we said first time was luck, second time's a coincidence, third time they're just clutch. They got the clutchness, they got the shooting, and I'm just thoroughly impressed by them.
I mean, you talk about you have to beat the best to be the best. So if Miami wants to set the standard as high as they can, we'll walk into Oxford, and Ohio University men's basketball will show them how it is done. And I have full faith in that basketball team to deliver a hell of a game on Valentine's Day.
I mean, yeah, it's, as someone who, follows mid-major sports, it's great to see a MAC team be ranked. But as an Ohio student, why did it have to be Miami? And then you look, and I mean, they have 6 guys averaging 10-plus points. So it's understandable. And I mean, yeah, it's like you said, after about 3 times of getting out of these close scrapes, that's a pattern. You just got to at least give them some respect for making it there and playing as well as they have.
And especially with the numbers as efficient as this team is. And like you mentioned, Craig, I mean, they escaped a lot of games recently very close. Of course, Tuesday night we saw them escape against Kent State in overtime. They hit a tying shot with, I believe, 2 seconds left. And then they, Saturday night against Buffalo, they hit a game-tying three-pointer at the buzzer and then hit a buzzer beater in overtime in that same game against Buffalo. So this team's kind of escaping, the odds a little bit. They're barely squeaking through, but this team is just so talented. But now we talked about some good news within the MAC. Let's talk about some bad or even questionable news. We saw 39 players from 17 college basketball programs are found to be linked to a point-shaving scandal, and some of the teams actually come from the MAC. So the teams that are these are the teams that were affected, is Kent State, Western Michigan, and Ohio. So these were just the opponents of games. The actual schools that were linked were Buffalo, Eastern Michigan, and Toledo, one of which I believe is a Eastern Michigan player, Carlos Hart, who just recently got suspended. For everybody else from the other teams, they've been graduated for a couple of years. So what is your guys' reactions? I mean, this is something that we harped on a couple of times this year when it comes to gambling within college sports. But what is our reaction to the fact that it affected the MAC as much as it did?
Jack, you can probably talk a little bit better about this than I can, but we've had the chat before that it's just unfortunate to see this is the question of the integrity of the sport as a whole, because it's at the end of the day, we've allowed gambling and the idea of allowing ourselves to win money from sporting events to so deeply permeate our investment into the sport that it's allowing players themselves to care less about the game that they're playing and care more about the money that they could get. And I think that's just an unfortunate reality that is, thankfully, it is being picked apart, but like at the end of the day, it's just an unfortunate reality to see.
And like with these kind of situations, you don't worry about it until it's in your own backyard. And for this now, it's in our own backyard. As you said, Ohio University was one of the teams affected by this scandal. And you just look at it and you just kind of sigh, because you're like, it's one of those things that you just hate to see happen, because it affects everyone in the sport of basketball, because then you start to look at almost everything and be like, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to all that game manipulation, and that's exactly what point shaving is because, one of the main categories is always the spread or maybe the over-under of the game. So maybe, you're purposely shooting worse for the sake of getting tens of thousands of dollars outside the court, like you mentioned, Connor. And you mentioned that, like, it is nice to see that this is being kind of picked apart more, but it's unbelievable and remarkable to see how much it's widespread throughout the nation. So I do got to give a lot of credit to NCAA President Charlie Baker, because he's made it his goal to maintain the integrity in college sports. And I think he's doing that, but it's just eye-opening to think that, there's games that we probably watched, the past couple of years. Like maybe it was an Ohio versus Eastern Michigan game, and there was some sports betting manipulation behind it all, which is just unbelievable to think about. But I like what the NCAA is doing. They're attacking the players from the past, and they're setting it up for a stronger future. So when we go now to our next segment, we're done talking about at least Ohio and MAC coverage, but we're going to go to the NCAA national title game. And guys, this game was straight out of a movie. When you think of the story of the Indiana Hoosiers, it's probably one of the best in college sports. Craig, kind of give us a breakdown of just what you all saw from this national title game.
Watching this game, I expected it to be all Hoosiers. Like, just going into it, because that's what we've seen all playoffs. But no team really dominated this game in the long run. I would say IU definitely had, like, the advantage throughout the game, like, almost the entire game. But, like, they couldn't escape, like, Ruben Bain. They couldn't escape that front seven. Like, whenever you thought this game was getting out of reach, the Miami defense would just pull it back from the depths. And I said to myself before the game, like, the Miami defense just need to stall. They just need to stall enough for Malachi Toney and Carson Beck to find a slant and just him take it 70 yards. But I would say that Carson Beck definitely underperformed. Like, I would say he's balled out in the last few games. But, like, the lights just seemed too bright for him. Like, the moment was too big, the lights were too bright, and it was unfortunate to see. But the IU defense just stifled the explosive plays that, like, Miami's been pulling off all year. But, like, Toney and Fletcher, of course, you can't stop every explosive play, so they leaked out a couple times. And, like, despite, like, Indiana being this well-oiled machine, this disciplined team for, like, most of the game, I got to give credit to, like, Ruben Bain, like I said. Like, they were disruptive. They were making Mendoza feel the pressure. He felt the heat a little bit. But, like, they would get the ball back, and Miami's offense would just fizzle out. And then the special teams eventually allowed that block punt, which absolutely just threw the game off track.
Yeah, I was going to actually go to that. It just felt like there were so many plays that Miami just let slip away that really prevented them from taking the national title. And one of them is that punt block, but it really felt like, you could also throw the Mendoza touchdown in there. It's 4th and 5, and they were thinking it was pass coverage. They had all the D-line go into pass rush mode, and it was just a beautiful call by Curt Cignetti. And even then, you go to all the 3rd and 4th and shorts where they throw it to Charlie Becker for these 50-50 balls, and he comes down with every single one of them. And I just really felt like if Miami played that fourth quarter throughout at least one more of those quarters, they probably end the game holding the national title trophy. What do you guys think? Do you think Miami kind of let this one slip away?
I don't think Miami really let this one slip away. I got to agree with Craig here that Indiana was in the driver's seat for the most part, and despite Miami sort of clawing their way back, there were so many times that Cignetti had the answer, or Mendoza made the play, or one of the defensive linemen would step up and force Carson Beck to feel too much pressure, because time and time again we've seen Carson Beck underthrow a pass a little bit too close to the sideline, and it's getting picked off. And, I mean, that's probably the 4th or 5th time that he has robbed himself of hoisting a very shiny trophy because of that exact pass.
Yeah, and I mean that pass, it was just never there. Like
No.
I don't know what made him think exactly that it was a deep shot that he had wide open. But we talk about the struggles of Carson Beck a lot, but I really want to talk about really what is the play of the game, and it's that Fernando Mendoza run on that QB draw. I mean that is one of the most incredible plays that I've ever seen in college football history. Like when I think of our parents talking about maybe Vince Young, I think it was kind of like that moment. I understand it wasn't the game-winning touchdown. It was kind of like an insurance touchdown to build the lead. But in terms of the grit and the guts it took to make that call and complete that run, I really think that's like top 5, top 10 in college football history. I mean, what do you guys think of that touchdown run?
I thought it was crazy. I mean, Mendoza put his whole life on the line for it, and it paid off.
And his future Raiders career.
Let's be honest.
Oh, brother.
Oh,
we know.
Tom Brady's in the stands as well.
Oh,
There
Emperor
was like their whole
Palpatine
front
standing up there
office.
just going, I can't wait to watch him stand behind the worst offensive line in the National Football League.
I think that play is honestly stuff you make movies about.
Oh my gosh,
Like
yes.
it's gonna be on posters and children in Indiana's like rooms for generations from now. And it's just like there was just TikTok say there was something in the air that night, man. There was something in the air that night, and it's all Mendoza. Man.
Yeah, and it just completes a full story. The fact that he's a kid from Miami, never got recruited by Miami, was actually practically rejected to even walk on the program, and he came back around full circle and beat him at Miami Gardens, Florida, with historically the worst team in college football history going into this season. I mean, it is unreal, but Curt Cignetti has already just enlisted himself as one of the best coaches of all time. I mean, this is impressive.
I mean, I'll speak for the table on this one, but he kind of completed the college football 26 dynasty. I mean, if you think about it, he goes into it. He comes from JMU, goes to Indiana, puts up one of the best years they've ever had, and then the next year after that, no 5 stars, barely any 4 stars, goes up and then wins a natty. I mean, could he be the best coach in college football right now?
I would think so. I would think you have to say right now because, I mean, the only person that would have prevented him that would have been Nick Saban. Nick Saban's been retired for a couple years now, and nobody has ever turned around a program like that. I mean, a lot of these coaches, they kind of fill in the shoes of just great opportunities, like Kalen DeBoer at Alabama,
Ryan Day.
Ryan Day at
Ryan Day,
OSU,
yep.
Dan Lanning at Oregon. These are programs that have been established forever. Indiana, the last 10 years or so, excluding the Cignetti years, the 10 years before Cignetti, they might have had 1 or 2 winning seasons and might have been ranked in the AP top 25 once. But now, I mean, they're the champs.
They're the best team in college football.
Yeah. It was cool to see also that it was a first-time champion in our lifetime. All these programs that we see, they've won several national champs, or they've won a couple at least. We've witnessed a team win their first title ever, and you could just see the whole community kind of mold and form around that, which I thought was pretty interesting. But now let's go on to our next segment so we don't talk too much about college football, but let's go for NFL football. In the playoffs, we saw heartbreaks, we saw clutch plays, terrible weather, sloppy football. I mean, Connor, what were some of the best stories from the NFL playoffs this past weekend?
My goodness, Jake Collins, we had an absolute slate of football this week. I mean, you look at the Saturday slate and you start off with what is probably going to go down as the 17,000th Bills tragic playoff loss. And, I mean, a little overtime, a little controversy, but once again, the Broncos defense stands incredibly tall and shows that they are not afraid to put up an absolute show for, what was probably, in my opinion, I don't want to say it was the best game of the weekend, but it was probably one of the best games of the weekend.
I would say it was a great way to start the playoff weekend, and it was definitely, it was first or second. But the thing that really stood out for me was the Bills played that football game just sloppy. I think they had 5 turnovers. I think the turnover difference was 5-1. And it was also that one field goal after Josh Allen had that fumble at the end of the half that just gave the Broncos 3 points, and that's what they ended up winning by. But it's also crazy to think about that Bo Nix got injured late in the game on just like some simple little time-killing play.
And the sentiment of this is an avoidable injury if you call the holding penalty on the Bills in the end zone 2 plays earlier, but that's a whole other situation. I think the really interesting story about this whole situation is less about the Broncos continuing their playoff run, in my personal opinion, and more about Sean McDermott getting fired. Like, the Bills have had year in and year out success in the playoffs, and you still fire your head coach.
So we're gonna hold on McDermott for now because we will
Okay,
talk about him.
okay.
We will talk about him later. Well, I guess to go to the next game, and we could pretty much keep this like a simple sentence. And I mean, that was a snooze fest over there in
come
Seattle.
on.
I mean, from the opening kickoff, that was just dominant.
Sitting in the newsroom and watching the great Rashid Shaheed just take it back 95 yards, and I was just like, wow, this one's over.
And in front of
No.
the home crowd, and I mean, that place was rocking
Yeah.
right after that kick return too. I mean,
Great.
it was a statement to make for sure.
Don't remind me of that trade, man. Don't remind me.
Thank you to New Orleans and the entire Saints community for giving us one of the most electrifying players in the league. Man.
Absolutely.
Should not have gone.
I mean, we barely noted on the game last week because it was pretty much the equivalent of murder on live TV. Like,
Yeah.
you just
Hydrogen bomb
it's
versus coughing
What was the
baby.
final score? It was
It
like
was
41 to
41 to
6.
6.
Yeah,
not
I mean,
good.
It was just sloppy football from the entire Niners offense. But now for more sloppy football, we got to go to that Texans-Pack game. I mean, there was nearly double-digit giveaways in this matchup. But Connor, I mean, the Pats, they still came away with it.
You know, every once in a while you look up to that dark press box spot and you say, wow, I wonder what sort of dark magic you got going on up there to the people that run the Patriots organization, because Jesus, that is like, I mean, besides the terrible weather and the 7 turnovers from total, I don't even remember what
It was like 7 or 8. I
That's
think
something.
both teams had 4 or 5.
I mean, CJ Stroud has some serious offseason work to do. I mean, there are some major questions that you have to answer on the offensive side of the ball in the Texans organization, but I will credit the Texans defense showing up pretty big. I mean, the testament of them being 11 velociraptors with machine guns is pretty accurate, and they're probably gonna hold on to pretty much that entire defense in the next couple of years. They're gonna be a problem.
So for I guess, at least when it comes to questioning C.J. Stroud, it feels like a lot of pro football media is like heavily questioning C.J. Stroud. Do any of us think it's justifiable? Do you think it was just kind of, hey, he's in another big-time playoff game, he's in sloppy weather, away crowd against a really talented Pats team, or is this something worth more talking about?
I think it's just a culmination of everything. People have bad games. Like I said with Carson Beck, maybe the lights were just a bit too bright that day. Maybe just the ball was just not gripped right. It could be in any number of things or everything that could have led to that kind of performance.
I mean, if you go back to college, I mean, looking at him, he hasn't really performed the best. I mean, at Ohio State, I mean, it was a tough loss to Georgia that one year. But other than that, lights are usually way too bright for him in big games.
I mean, when you look at how C.J. Stroud has performed this year, especially towards the tail end of the season, I mean, December you take down the Chiefs, the Cardinals, you barely come out of a close game to the Raiders, take down the Chargers, and somehow manage to beat the Colts just to get yourselves into the playoffs. Blowing out the Steelers was just kind of an inevitability, but I mean, we knew that the Texans were going to struggle offensively against a more superior opponent when it comes to a pressure on defense and more of I would say a more well-rounded playoff team. Like, it's just unfortunate to see him struggle as much as he did, if not arguably a little bit more than he did against the Steelers.
And I think with that, Connor, I mean, that Pats defense just kind of suffocated the offense because that run game was non-existent. Woody Marks couldn't get anything going. Woody probably had, I don't even know if he had 20 rushing yards in the game.
He had 17.
17 rushing yards. I mean, that run game was just dead, and now you're like, the passing game's the only option, and it was just not good.
Yeah, no, they had 4 people record, like the Texans had 4 players record rushing yards, 22 carries for 48 total yards.
That's horrible. It's
That
horrible.
is, I mean,
No.
like, there's nothing you can do, and you have to, in that situation, like you said, Jake, you have to open up the pass game. But also, then you open up the chance for 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, like you saw from C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, it just made it tough for him. But to kind of go into the final game, and this was probably the best game of the whole weekend, Bears-Rams. I mean, what a game, guys. Unreal fourth quarter. What was your guys' reactions to that?
I was hate watching the entire game. Shout out Josh Jacob for being a Bears fan, but living with that guy and watching the Bears game with him, I love to rage bait him to the absolute max.
Oh, I believe
during Bears games.
But I mean, you got to give credit to the Bears for putting on what it was an absolute show. I mean, I arguably think that the Bears could have come out with this game had a couple of things gone their way, but I mean, there are so many things that you can credit back to Caleb Williams performing at a higher level than most people have expected him to. Not just this season, but like over the past couple of years, he has continued to step up more and more from a Bears team that everyone was legitimately looking at the bottom of their conference and going, you guys are the worst. And now they're showing up in a playoff game against a Rams team that needed pretty much a last-second miracle to come out on top again.
Yeah, I was about to say, what about that touchdown pass
I
from
know.
Williams to Kmet? That was unreal.
One of,
That's a
like,
record-setting
if not
touchdown.
the most impressive
It's
touchdown I've seen in like recent years. Just pure quarterback. I mean, backpedaling, avoiding, crossbody. It went 14 yards officially, but through NFL Next Gen stats, it traveled 50 yards through the air, hit him right where it needed to.
I was about to say,
it's incredible.
It was only like a 15, 20-yard touchdown catch.
36 yards behind the line of scrimmage, which is the furthest back a quarterback has thrown, not just like a completed pass, but a touchdown. Like
Fourth down to tie the game.
It's an
dying
unbelievable
minutes.
thing to see.
And then, sadly, he did throwing that interception that was underthrown, and then the Rams came across the field and kicked the game-winning field goal. So they're going to the NFC title game. For the previews, we got Seahawks-Rams, round 3, and then Broncos-Pats. Once again, it feels like Manning versus Brady days again. What were you kind of expecting in these conference title matchups?
Let's kick it off with the Broncos and Pats, because, I mean, the Seahawks and Rams we will get to in a minute, because I know we've got a pretty opinionated man at the table. But, I mean, that's going to be a high-flying game, to say the least. But this is, in my opinion, more of a middleweight title match. Like, you've got two teams that are going to bob and weave and beat the tar out of each other until one team is left standing and ready to face down the Seahawks next week. I mean, I can't discredit either team, but it's going to be about who can read and respond better. I mean, you've got two incredibly intelligent coaches who are going to... I mean, Mike Vrabel has a significantly easier job because the Broncos don't have Bo Nix as their starting quarterback. But, I mean, you still have to give a massive amount of credit to Sean Payton and the Broncos defense, because they are going to put an unbelievable amount of pressure on Drake May to perform to the absolute best of his ability.
Yeah, I mean, with Sean Payton, we've seen before, especially in 2012 with the bounty scandal, he will do anything to win, especially in a conference championship game.
So now for the next game, of course, we just talked about the AFC title. Craig, we got to come to you, man, because the last time these two squads played each other, it was probably one of the best regular season games we saw, and now it's to punch a ticket to the Super Bowl.
You couldn't write it any better. No. This is absolute cinema. This is Rocky versus Apollo Creed 3. This is it's going to be a good game, and this is going to be the one that everyone's watching when they sit down. They're going to be like, this is what I'm going to spend my time doing. I'm a little bit nervous for it. I can't lie. They split the season series. As long as Sam Darnold is the game manager and doesn't throw 4 picks, I think the Seahawks can secure a trip to the Super Bowl.
It is nice to say. I mean, it's in the Pacific Northwest and not in SoFi, so I think that's going to be the advantage that they need. And I mean, that crowd was rocking out after that kick return. It's going to be unbelievable on 3rd and 4th downs.
The 12th man.
I am so excited to watch this game. My popcorn will be made. Like, I know Sean McVay's going to have his work cut out for him, to say the least. If he calls the same game that he calls against Chicago, the Seahawks will have their way with the Rams, to say the least. But besides the fact that the Seahawks are my favorite in this game, I just think this is one of those games that arguably it is more important, in my opinion, than what will be the inevitable Super Bowl. This is going to be the deciding factor of who takes home the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year.
I absolutely agree, Connor, but I mean, it's going to be exciting to see. I'm just like you. I'm going to sit in that couch, and I'm just going to be smiling from ear to ear watching those games. But now to go to our next segment, it is Read and React, where we read and react to the biggest news and hottest topics across sports. And Michael Silver of The Athletic believes that Patrick Mahomes is more of the reason why head coaches John Harbaugh and Sean McDermott were fired. And this is kind of referring to the fact that the Chiefs prevented those great years for the Bills and the Ravens. And since the Chiefs were eliminated, the hype and expectations just reached a new level for these two head coaches and these teams. What is your guys' reaction to Michael Silver's claim?
I can completely understand where he's coming from with this, but I also would like to kind of disagree. I think that besides the fact that Mahomes was as dominant as he was for as long of a time that he has sat on that throne, the temperature across the room in the NFL is that the Mahomes era is slowly fading. And in my opinion, you can kind of see that team is tailing off, and the league as a whole is wide open. There's more than enough opportunity for any one of these teams to have held on to their coaches and then made a massive playoff run in the next season.
So then now for the next story we're going to go into is we're actually going to skip it over to Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler just recently had an ACL tear that ended the season for the player. So I mean, Sam Amick of The Athletic is also questioning, is Jimmy Butler's ACL injury the reason why, I guess, this Warriors dynasty will end now? I mean, is this permanently the end for the Warriors being a contender?
You know, I might have to agree with this. Because, look, you still can't deny, I mean, Steph Curry is playing insane, but also you just can't not focus on the fact that he is in his mid to late 30s. I mean, he can really only play for so much longer. And looking at the rest of this roster, I'm not moved
and the Warriors
by anybody.
Are 25-20, 8th in the West. That's not an easy conference to perform well in, especially when you're already standing on the edge of the bubble.
And now your second option is
done for the year. Yeah.
Since Jimmy Butler's done, I don't think the rest of this lineup has it really in them to step up and actually be able to compete with such a tough Western Conference, especially this year.
Yeah, I mean, Amick's take, I mean, it's kind of realistic. I mean, when you think of all the years with Steve Kerr, which has been 12 years, they've only had one season with a losing record, and they've won 6 Western Conference titles and 4 Larry O'Briens. I mean, Curry's getting older. Draymond's definitely getting older. He looks old out there on the court. But now you lost Butler, so I don't know if they could reload for a championship-winning team for the next couple years or so. I mean, it's going to have to take another decade or so to realistically go back to that level. So we're going to go now into NCAA men's basketball, and AP top 25 teams, they continue to drop in these losses. I mean, Jack, when it comes to out of these most recent games, which was the one or the two that really stuck out to you from this past week?
I would say one of the biggest ones that stuck out to me was Arkansas-Vanderbilt. Arkansas handled Vanderbilt 93-68. You know, Simon had said last week that he thought that this game shows how real Vandy can be, and well, that's not a great showing after that comment is made. It's their 3rd straight loss since Vanderbilt's perfect 16-0 start, and I mean, Arkansas was just bawling out there. Vanderbilt needs to improve their offensive rebounding. I mean, you look through, they're last in the league. Arkansas was led by Darius Acuff, who had 17 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists as a freshman, which is just impressive. You have to give credit to Malik Ewan, Carter Knox, 16 points apiece. The biggest thing is just the Commodores struggled against the length that Arkansas has. I mean, they were held 10-31 from 3, so... And then you also, on top of that, get outscored in the paint. There's just not much you can really do.
And, I mean, like you mentioned, Vanderbilt's on a string of losses. And the game before, they had to play 16th-ranked Florida, the reigning national champs. And that was a high-scoring battle. Both teams nearly scored 100 points. And then Arkansas, who just lost to Georgia, they were able to bounce back. So, I mean, the SEC is a competitive conference. They really don't have much representing the top 5. I don't know if they have any teams within the top 5 for the AP top 25, but in terms of just being competitive, they still have like nearly 10 teams. I mean, I think bracketology has them nearly a dozen teams within that NCAA tournament bracket. But when we talk about the previews coming up, I mean, Jack, we have some serious games. Like, this might be one of the best weeks of college basketball.
Oh, easily. Starting off Saturday, Illinois at Purdue. You know, a bounce-back game for Purdue after losing to UCLA 69-67. Illinois is coming off a win against Minnesota. As of the day we're recording, the 21st, Illinois plays Maryland. If Illinois wins against Maryland, that'll be the 8 straight won games. It could be scary for Purdue, especially coming off that UCLA loss, to come into a hot Illinois team. And then we follow it up same day with what I think is going to be the best game of the week, Houston, Texas Tech. They played January 6th. Houston won 69-65, so close game. Houston lost to Tennessee almost 2 full months ago and have won out since, winning 11 straight games. Texas Tech's 4th and most recent loss comes against Houston. They've been good since. Second, nationally in defense for Houston. Texas Tech undefeated at home. This is going to be an unstoppable force versus immovable object, the game.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I mean, this Houston team, like you mentioned, not only on the win streak, but they're hungry after that national title loss. So that is a great battle within the Big 12. But for another game, we have number 1 Arizona and number 13 BYU. You're talking AJ Dibastanza, who is the Dibanza, or what's his last name?
Dibanza.
He's one of the top 3 picks within the NBA draft. And, of course, Arizona ranked first in the AP top 25, and then a top 10 battle in the Big 10. Number 7 Nebraska might pick up their first loss against number 3 Michigan, as this game is in Ann Arbor, so it's going to be a tough battle. But now we're going to go to pro basketball. Cleveland Cavaliers, I mean, they picked up some important wins as of recently. Connor, break this one down for us.
You ready to talk some ethical, non-GMO, certified farm-grown hoops? So the last couple of games for the Cavs have been exactly what they needed. I can't lie. Besides a bad loss to the Thunder, which is pretty exactly what you would expect when a middle of the pack Cavs team goes against the reigning champion Thunder. We talked last week, Jack, about the Cavs needed to get their feet set and play well against the 76ers. And you started off with an absolute blowout. Jalen Tyson hands the 76ers a 40-piece with a side of the Evan Mobley game-winning assist. You can't really ask for more than that. And then they follow it up with an absolute stunner in a 2-point win. I can't really complain about what has been a back-to-back series of good games against the Sixers. We saw the right chemistry out of the Cavs against the Thunder, and Kenny Atkinson knows what he's doing day in and day out to find this team's success. I'm more excited to see where they're going the next couple of weeks, personally.
Yeah, I mean, they did have that blowout loss to Oklahoma City, and that's just a game where it's like you could do anything you can to stay within reach, try to see if you could steal a game, but that Thunder team is just way too talented.
It's such a well-rounded roster that's a team that you have to play in 7 games when you want to take them down. But the way that the Cavs have performed week in and week out, showing that they have the depth off the bench and the rotations that can perform at the highest level to take down pretty much any team they want, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned it, but I just got to focus again. Second game against the 76ers, said the team needs to step up, and what does Jalen Tyson do? But 39 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Nobody else. DeAndre Hunter had 16, and he was the second highest scorer on the team. So, I mean, Jalen Tyson kept them in that game and won them that game.
Another thing when it came to the games, and kind of what we mentioned last week at the table, was it was kind of those Philly games were way more important than that Thunder game. Just because, you're battling with Philly within the Eastern Conference. And not only that, both games were at Philly. And for you to win the first game blowout fashion and then escape the one that was super close, that sends a message to the conference. Hey, we're still a little bit of contenders. We understand that this Philly team, you don't know if they're like a top 4 team. You don't know if they're a bottom 5 team. It all comes down to the injuries with Philly, with Embiid, with Tyrese Maxey. But when it comes to, I guess, just the upcoming games, they currently are facing the Hornets right now, which, do we got a score update on that?
It's the NBA, and it's 7-12, so they haven't even started yet. Come
All right.
on.
Yeah, come on.
We should know better by now. They'll start in 20 minutes.
I expected them to have a score. We knew it wasn't going to
No,
happen.
absolutely not.
But we have the rivalry matchup with the Hornets. I don't know why they're doing that besides the LaMelo and Lonzo rivalry, I guess. But that'll be a game. We'll see how that turns out. But besides that, it's really just a great opportunity for the Cavs to continue to build that momentum we talked about. I mean, after the Hornets, you go on the road, you face the Unction at Sacramento, and then it's a doubleheader against the Orlando Magic. And I mean, we've seen the Cavs beat the Magic before. Is the Unction
they
coming here?
host Sacramento.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sweet. The Unction's coming here.
Yep,
Even
better.
easier. So, I mean, then you've got a doubleheader against the Magic, who is a team that you have taken down multiple times before, and we know that the Cavs can continue to build the momentum that they want. Stay positive, keep moving, and keep letting them know. Go Cavs.
And when it comes to the Magic, as the time of this recording, the Magic are the 6th seed at 23-19. The Cavaliers are that 7th seed at 24-20. So those are 2
doubleheader.
games. Yes,
Yeah.
a home and home
Yeah.
series. That's going to be huge. So what exactly will the Cavs need to do to not only take one of them, but to take both of them and jump into the 6th place spot?
It's kind of a little bit of what we were saying. They need to just they found their footing a little bit. They need to keep it going. I mean, you had against the 76ers, honestly, with the Jalen Tyson 39 points, that was kind of a little bit of a saving grace there because nobody else really moved me a whole lot. I mean, Evan Mobley had 15, 5, and 4. That's a good stat line from him, but especially when he's been averaging 20-plus points a game, you kind of need to see more out of it, especially the starters. I mean, I'm not sure where Darius Garland will be at for the game. I know I believe he hurt his toe in the second game against the Sixers, which please stop stepping on his toe.
Yeah, that's a problem
Please.
that we need to
Last year it was elbowing him in the head.
Now
this
it's
year you're
stepping on his
stomping
feet.
on his toes. Can he just play? He's good.
leave him alone. Let him do his thing. And I mean, I do think I would love to see Donovan Mitchell continue to produce at a high level. I know we're kind of asking a lot of him. He's already top 10 in the league in points per game, averaging almost 30, which is just ridiculous. But also, like, at the end of the day, Donovan Mitchell's got to consistently be putting up these numbers to keep the Cavs in what is a very competitive but also very wide open Eastern Conference. We do have a score update on the Cavs. They're up 6 on the Hornets.
Okay.
All right, so strong start. So
Yeah.
I guess to go back to the Orlando series, what exactly will Cleveland need to do to shut down Orlando?
I would love to see them focus more on moving the ball on offense and then clamping on defense, because I mean, we've seen that this team has really done well at opening it up. Like, move the ball well on offense, you get Sam Merrill wide open and he'll score 7 threes a game. But if you have an opportunity to force Orlando to slow themselves down, you'll force 1 or 2 of their players to have to take over that game, and it causes that whole system to collapse.
All right, we'll see how Cleveland does in this upcoming series against Orlando. I mean, home and home, that's going to be very important later down the line when you're competing for playoff spots in April. But now we're going to go to our final segment of the night. It's Upset Watch, where we pick our favorite underdogs across sports. We were 1 for 4 last week. Connor, Coastal Carolina, got it done once again.
Yes,
but
sir.
for the first option, I want to go to Craig. Who do you got for your first Upset Watch of 2026?
My first upset watch pick, I'm taking Ohio State over Michigan in men's basketball. The University of Michigan has an 88.8% chance to win this game according to ESPN Matchup Predictor, but I think Bruce Thornton can just will them a win at this point.
Reese, you got also another college basketball selection. Who you got?
I got Bellarmine over Jacksonville. Bellarmine has a 20.7% chance to win this game according to ESPN. Bellarmine has 2 players that average over 15 points per game. They're shooting over 50% from the field and over 35% from 3.
Jack, you got hockey.
I do. I have the Detroit Red Wings over the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs are 24th in the NHL in goals conceded, 7th in goals scored. But I think the lack of injuries and the 15th ranked offense will give the Red Wings the edge over Toronto. Detroit is ranked higher, but a lot of the analytics I saw are going with Toronto. And you can't count out Detroit. I mean, Lucas Raymond, Alex DeBrincat, they've combined for 31 goals. That against that weaker Toronto goalie unit. I mean, I think they can take the edge in this game.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in what is a rivalry series, and it could be pretty competitive. Connor, who do you got for your selection?
You know what? I thought it'd be a fun little NBA pick. So tonight, the Bucks take on the Thunder. They're 11.5-point underdogs, but I mean, Craig, you're talking about if a man can will himself to a win, I think the Greek Freak can do it, and especially against the team that they need to make a statement against.
All right, I like our all four selections, and now I got a reason to watch Bellarmine over Jacksonville.
Yes.
There we go.
Love
That's
that.
really why we do it.
I will be watching that game.
See, I always love those unique selections, but when it comes to our SportsBeat selections for the awards, let's go into Game of the Week. We are going to pick Ohio inviting Akron into the combo this Friday night. The reigning MAC champs are looking to play spoiler. Of course, Akron is a very tough team like we talked about earlier, and plus the game is also green and white. And SportsBeat Player of the Week, a sport we haven't talked about at all on this show, we're going to give it to wrestling's Zane Lehman, who is a redshirt senior who impressed the crowd. 11-0 win over SIU Edwardsville's Nick Nosler in the 197-pound weight class. Lehman's win was actually 1 of 3 for Ohio, but was the most dominant. So congrats, Zane, for being our Player of the Week. And now that is going to be it for our show. Thank you for listening to SportsBeat on WOUB. I'm your host today, Jake Collins, and with me at the table was
Reece Merkel.
Conor Mallonn.
Jack Zwiezinski.
And Craig Neal.
And you can listen to us on WOUB 1340 AM radio at 9 p.m. Or you could just search us online at woub.org/listen. Also the platforms SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course on YouTube. Don't forget, follow us on our Instagram at SportsBeat WOUB. We'll see you next week. This has been SportsBeat.